we just gonna intro and go?
No, we always have a cold open, so we always kind of like catch up about something.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta just mix it up, Bev. You gotta spice it up, or not. I don't. It's fine.
You know what I love is Mac and I were talking about this last night. Is we were mentioning how what's really kind of what I was nervous about with the rewatch, but like I'm actually loving is I'm appreciating it, and I'm also like recognizing like the specialness of our relationships even more, and our like true like family nature.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like while I was in it, while we were shooting it, like I was so busy like trying to be like surprisingly like perfect. I was trying to be like everything that I thought I was supposed to be, and now I can actually like love and appreciate and like kind of like come back to it. I just like, you know, even just this moment, like this very brother sister moment.
I think we were realizing the significance of the time that we spent together that was not even on camera too. And like the process more than just the job that we drove to and did and came home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it took like what, 20 years?
Look,
Well,
with us in particular, we've spent the majority of our lives together.
Right.
So that's all it is. You know, like we have that family type relationship because we've spent as much time with each other as we have with our own families.
I know, and it's
I didn't
fun.
realize it until we came back together really as much, you know?
I know, and it's been fun because it's like the quirks and like the like silly little things and like.
Well, this is great. What's great about this and what's different about this than the other times since the show has been off that we've gotten together is that like the few times we've gotten together after the show went off was like we'd go out to dinner and hang out for like an hour or two and eat and catch up for a minute. But all that is, you know, everyone knows like when you see an old friend you haven't seen in a while and you catch a meal, like it's not, you don't get back into the swing of things. Whereas this, we're like working together, doing the pod. Yeah. And so we get back into the swing of hanging out all day together and doing something creative, you know, and constructive. And that's what we used to do every day together.
And I think we almost have more in common with each other now too than we did before because we all have our own families now, and we're all, you know, the age difference between us is less significant than it was then.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's the craziest thing because I was even thinking today and I was like, realized that, you know, we're only 3 years difference, which I felt like when we were shooting was like, I was so old and mature. I was like,
you were.
So old
it was
mature.
justified though. Watching the first season, like you and I really were in that like little kid bucket, and you and Jess really were in that like preteen bucket, and we were all kind of in different zones.
And Barry looked like he was.
And Barry
30, but he was 16.
Barry looks like a 25-year-old cosplaying as a high school student.
For sure.
Along with all of his guest stars. It's a little weird.
Some very mature girlfriends, which actually, speaking of which, should we do the intro?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. In case you don't know what you clicked on, you're watching or listening to Catching Up with the Camdens. I'm David Gallagher.
I'm Beverly Mitchell.
And I'm Mackenzie Rosman.
And now we are going to continue our rewatch session we've started up, which has been a much requested thing for us to do, where we go through the early days of the show and watch some of the episodes. We're going through the first season. And this is episode 3.
Yeah. David, did you watch it?
I did. I watched it. I rewatched it.
I rewatched it. And you actually were more prepared than Mac and I this morning.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, I don't know about of course, but I'm
always prepared.
Well, now that
when I'm not prepared.
Now that we all clearly understand what an actual rewatch is.
Yeah. Well, going through the rewatch, not rewatching it, kind of threw me for a loop. Sorry. I don't know why I was the only one who misinterpreted the instructions. I really couldn't for the life of me figure out why you guys asked me to rewatch it before we'd get together to rewatch. I thought we were going to rewatch it
so
together.
it's almost like a re-talk.
Yes, I mean I see
It's a
now
rehash.
the
Rehash.
the
Yeah.
politics behind the rewatch, why we can't do it live.
Should we call it a
on
rehash?
Yeah, it
Like
is
we're
kind of like a rehash.
rehash of the episode.
But
You're talking about a react.
it's a react.
Watching
Oh.
that is a react.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
true. A react,
Yeah,
we'd have to
Lucy
have it
reacts.
live.
Matt or Ruthie reacts.
Lots of reactions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to be really good at those.
Yeah, and I
Practice
liked that they
makes
didn't
perfect.
call it. They didn't say like Lucy shocked. It was always just Lucy reacts.
Yeah.
Simon reacts.
Eric
Yeah.
reacts. Who do you
Eric.
think reacted most? Like, if you were to
Oh,
look at
geez.
break down the script, do you think Eric reacts the most, or
I don't know. I think Lucy.
Probably.
We had a
I
lot
think
of reactions.
Lucy
It's one of-
reacted a lot.
one
She
of you
huffed
two.
a lot though, but that was never.
Yeah.
That was never scripted. That was just my just
creative?
natural
creative.
Well,
creative.
I think it's just shorthand, right? Like the writers are
Yeah, no,
pumping
totally.
these scripts out, and so no matter what no matter what the appropriate reaction is, they would just say this person reacts, that person reacts, because they wanted to get their
And they were,
There was
their,
also like
their
a call
emotional
out.
state.
That was a call out for like close-ups and editing. And
Yeah,
that
it's-
was
yeah,
like it wasn't
it's- it
necessarily
was
for
just-
us.
So-and-so's face.
It's just
Yeah.
good old fashioned TV shorthand.
Yeah.
But honestly, they were really so great at pumping them out because unlike a lot of shows that I've heard of, the script we got was the script we shot, basically. And there were no last minute edits and nothing was still being written while we were filming it, basically.
No, I
No,
only think
very
the first
rarely.
season we
So-
had a few different colors, but I mean, I've found all my old scripts and they're blue.
Oh, that's
I got
true.
so
They're
excited
blue.
though.
No,
when
I
we had
remember
the
that
first
though. When the
season, we
revisions
had
would come in and they'd be the
yellow,
different
pink,
colors.
and
Yeah.
green. So like our first season did have colors in the script, but
I
like
love those rainbow
then-
scripts.
But like season 11, they're blue.
Do you remember when we got to Cherry?
They may have given
and
us a revision, and I
brown?
just didn't even bother.
I was
putting
gonna
them
say
in.
like that might just also
think-
be the fact that we would get the revisions and be like, cool, because the
This
small
doesn't-
sides, the small sides was a version of the script that's this big that you could stick in your pocket, and what you guys don't know or maybe do
Or it
know
held
is
gum.
that whenever you watch the show, those small sides are in everyone's
It's back
pocket.
pocket.
We
Or in
all
that
have them on us.
little cubby hole.
or no, they're
at the
mine
top
were
of the
always in the
kitchen.
kitchen in the drawer.
Yeah, you know what's funny?
Yeah.
When we were shooting later in the show, I would remember like
Finding old
kind of like the
seasons.
gum, but like you would, if you looked in some weird nook in the set somewhere in a drawer or
You'd
like on
find
the
old
side, you would find like dusty old small sides from like seasons ago, and it was like finding an old tome.
And it was always
you
fun
know?
to try to figure out whose it was, whose
Yeah.
sides they were. But the revisions are the different colors are just are different revisions. So like your script always started off with blue,
Script was always blue when you
and
got
then
it.
came
yeah.
like pink,
yeah.
yellow, goldenrod.
yeah,
cherry.
goldenrod.
Yeah, there was always
Green.
They were named colors that would come out in order so that once you would have to take the pins out of your script and then replace the pages that were rewritten with the new colors. And so by the end of shooting the episode, you would have this kind of rainbow script, but you'd be able to tell which page was revised in which order,
yeah.
basically, of revisions through the color system. So the colors were in a
I
specific
always
order.
of course, as I would, I loved getting my script all like dialed in. Like I loved like as soon as the revisions came in, like my script was like perfect. I don't think Jesse ever
Do you
put her
remember when we
revisions
got
in there.
those?
I bet she
Those.
didn't. Yeah.
Do you still have? So Stephen, when you're for a Christmas present, gave us all binders, like black script binders with our names on them. That's one thing that I do still have. Actually,
don't
it's
know
in
that
my
I have
living
that.
room.
Okay, wait.
It's like a
should we
leather-bound 3-ring binder with our names on it.
I'd
It's
have. We
black.
got to check the vault.
We gotta check the
I
vault.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Wait,
It's
should
probably
we
in there somewhere.
should we get back into this rehash and dive into episode 3, which I
Yes,
believe is
let's do
called
it.
"In the Blink of an Eye"? I don't know why, but why don't we rehash it and figure
We'll
it out?
find out,
Let's
yeah.
figure it out. Okay, so how it starts, as many things do, is breakfast at
Mm-hmm.
the table in the kitchen,
Yep.
having breakfast.
We didn't eat
As you
breakfast
do.
a
We
lot.
Didn't eat breakfast a
honestly.
lot. No, this was
We never had birthdays either.
no. We do. I think we're gonna have to. I think there is a birthday at some point.
There's a
Maybe.
few.
Yeah.
It
But-
wasn't like a regular seasonal thing that we
It would've
did,
been
but
tight.
they'd sprinkle
But
them in
yeah,
there.
Can you
breakfast-
imagine those 7 kids celebrating all those? But it would have been like the whole show would have been like
Birthdays.
7.
I don't know. I think part of the reason why you see these scenes like the breakfast table in the kitchen that don't come up as often later on is because they're shopping, right? Like they're shopping all these different family moments to see which ones are the most useful for them. And then things like the dinner table kind of won for our like whole family scenes, and stuff like our living room scenes, like the living room foyer where the foyer kind
Yeah.
of comes into the living room. That threshold was like
Yeah, that was a big
very active spot
The
in the
absolutely.
house
communal
set.
gathering
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, so things were constantly, and sometimes they do this thing, which I always thought was actually clever and cool. We would have a scene going on in the living room, and then someone would come to the door, and you'd have a side scene going on in the front, and then the two scenes would like merge.
Yeah.
And so when they would do stuff like that, I don't know, always thought that was like a cool, clever use of the space, the set space we had.
Yeah. But so in that first scene where we come in, Simon has
I get my cereal box prize, which Simon, for some reason, as smart as he is unaware that all the cereal boxes have a prize in them. And so it's not a particularly special event, but I feel special about it, and that's what matters. And so I get my moon rocks out of the cereal box, and I'm convinced that it must be lucky that I got the moon rocks, because then in a clever little Simon way, I'm told like, hey, all the cereal boxes have prizes in them, and I'm like, yeah, but it ended up in my bowl. So
which is true.
the odds of, the whole family not getting it, that I got it, made it special and lucky. And so that kicks off Simon's little gag for the episode, which is cool.
And then, of course, I think Lucy is now obviously boy crazy at this point. So she's very excited about
Because now she's she's a woman
she's
now.
gonna have a
and-
date.
You guys are
Yeah.
not only boy crazy, you're very openly boy crazy. You're
We're very
very loud and proud about your boy craziness and how you must be kissed immediately
Yes.
and all the time.
exactly. You know what? I don't think I recognized what this setup of these, like, it's very clear to me now, like now how Lucy ended up being how Lucy was, because it was clearly set up in the first few episodes. And here I was like, I'm like, why is Lucy always kissing people? I'm like, oh, well, because we set her up as like a crazy,
Hormonal.
very hormonal.
Yeah.
She is a very hormonal
Yeah.
teen. Yes, and we're all talking about Grandma and Grandpa coming into town
visit.
because all of the younger Camden kids are still unaware that Grandma is
Only Matt knows at this point.
Only
I
Matt
think,
knows.
right?
Right.
And they come with gifts as grandparents
Well,
do.
we haven't
What
gotten there
happens-
yet. We haven't gotten there yet.
What
We know
happens
that they're
next?
supposed to come. Oh, big moment for you two.
Yeah. So
Oh,
this
that's
is
right.
when Simon and
no,
Ruthie
yeah, you're
move
right.
into the
Obviously,
same room together.
another big lasting impact kind of thing is that Simon gets his bunk bed dream. They set up that Simon's been pushing for bunk beds for a long time, and then I'm really excited until I find out that my bunk mate is going to be Ruthie, and not, I don't know, Matt, like who I thought maybe would decide to bunk with me at the young age of 25, 16. So then I like my dream becomes a nightmare. I don't know how that, like
And
I
hooey.
I get what I want, but not the way I want, and it's
It's life.
a gift and a curse. And then we immediately, as we go into the room, the bunk beds are there. So we skip the setup and the actual.
Oh, so you didn't the building
Yeah,
or set
the
assembly.
real
There would have
parental
been
work
too much
of buying the
profanity.
bunk beds, dragging them up the stairs, pulling out the Allen keys, setting the damn thing up, like all this stuff that would
I don't-
actually happen and take up
Well,
most of your
because
day.
by the way,
Yeah.
Annie already did it because
Annie
Annie
did it,
is
yeah,
a boss.
exactly. Annie
and
did it when no
she-
one was
She
looking.
probably did it
and
without
Eric-
swearing too.
Eric-
While we were eating breakfast,
Eric
Annie was putting
didn't
together
even
bunk
carry
beds.
them up the stairs because Annie is a boss.
That's right.
I mean, welcome to television.
Yeah.
Things just happen.
Then what happens?
Yeah. And
The news that Grandma and Grandpa are actually not going to come. They're supposed to come, and then the news is
That's right. And then they cancel. They cancel
Oh, yeah, they
suspiciously and without reason or warning.
right, which is very distressing to Annie
Mm-hmm.
because now she's very worried about why. Eric suggests that she should just fly to Arizona.
Yeah, like you do.
Yeah, like you do. I
Just
mean, you absolutely
Decide during breakfast to go to Arizona for the afternoon.
I mean, thank
As
God
you
for
could
quick
if you
flights.
lived in California.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
Especially there's so many great airports.
This was still the era where we weren't like Californian though. Like in the beginning, wasn't it that we were like, not
were
that we were
Springfield,
specifically trying
um,
not to be California, but it wasn't stated at any time that we were a California family.
until they saw all the palm trees.
it eventually became kind of suburban California.
Except for
but
they do at one point call out 3rd Street. But I guess you have 3rd Street
a
and
third
everything.
s-
I
yeah.
know. As I said it, I just realized that was a dumb statement. So scrap that. There's a 3rd Street in every single town in all of America. So okay. Yep. Let's move on. What happens next? Should we take a break? Yeah, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Be back. I got my coffee. You guys already.
I
Oh,
have
you
my
have
coffee.
yours.
Yeah.
Oh. Have you had yours the whole time?
Yeah.
Did you already drink yours?
I drank mine.
Okay. All right. Well,
Oh,
now
this is my second coffee. This is that cold brew that brewed in the car all day yesterday.
What?
We forgot to
left
bring
it
it
in the car.
so I left it
Yeah.
in the car all day.
And then she went to the fridge this morning and was like, "Where is my cold brew?" And then when I went out for coffee, I found it.
we'll find out if it actually has
So
to be
you went and got the
refrigerated.
cold coffee. You're calling it cold brew.
Well,
but it's
it was
just a coffee
cold,
that
then
sat
it
in
was
the car all
hot
day.
because it sat in the car, and
Yeah.
then
And
I
you're
made it
like,
cold again.
yum,
She
and
still
that's your
chooses to
coffee
drink it.
too?
Yeah.
Okay, let's
All right.
circle back,
I get
everybody. Circle back.
choices.
Circling back. Circle back. We're coming back. We're into episode 3, and we are chatting about.
Bunk beds.
Jared told us. Oh yeah. Okay. Bunk
So we got
beds.
bunk beds. We set them up, and Simon's mad. Can't
Yeah.
believe it.
Well, because Ruthie also starts. So you.
Well, I
start
move
mov-
all of my stuff in, and I basically take over the entire
You
room
start moving your stuff in.
instantly.
It is the cutest thing ever. By the way, you come in with like some dolls and you're starting to set your dolls up, and it's perfect
Simon's
for your.
just gonna
And I'm like
barf.
mortified, right, that you're like moving in all of your army of
As
dolls
would an
into
older-
the room, and it's so cute.
Don't you like
it is
line
adorable.
them up? Isn't it like you line them up? I think you have a line where you say
And then-
like all the eyeballs.
Yeah, they're staring at me or something, and you're like, they can't help it. It's really cute.
Well, I think
It was.
because I think at one point you even say like put them in the closet, and you say like I think that
That
they,
they
can't
would breathe, able to
Yeah.
breathe in there. And then I mentioned Huey.
Oh,
Also,
yeah.
this is Huey's first appearance.
Oh.
And apparently Huey helps unload luggage at the airport sometimes, so he's not always around.
I forgot about who your imaginary friend.
So
Yeah.
then the weirdest reference so far on the show, I think easily, is adult teenagers are arguing about
Who goes with
that
Wait, let's be clear on which teenagers you're talking about. You're talking about Mary.
the ones
Jeff.
the ones who are actually adults. So I was clear. I was
Barry.
perfectly clear. The
Wait.
adult teenagers.
Barry and
Barry
Jeff
and Jeff.
It's-
well,
Sorry.
Matt and
it's-
Jeff.
That one went right over my head. I
Mary
apologize.
and her adult teenager boyfriend are arguing about if they're gonna go to see a movie or something, and the movie that comes up
the
is
choice-
Striptease,
right.
Which is a '90s gem if you're not old enough to remember. It's so awkward and strange that like that's the choice. I think, given
It's
the
very
context of the show and the thing.
WB-esque.
Is it though? It's kind of weird. I think, given the.
Well, we mentioned it a lot throughout the whole episode. There's a lot of emphasis on
I
striptease.
just when
I
I
don't think
saw it,
I've
I was
seen
like
it.
dumbfounded. I was like, why did they just shout out striptease
It could have
of
been
all
Space
movies?
Jam.
It could have been any movie.
Well, the whole point was it was R and it was racy and
Yeah.
it was like
But given the big
the
deal they
title's
make over
sexy.
R-rated movies throughout these very episodes, the fact that the name drop is striptease is just like a little like, ugh, it's weird. I don't know.
Wait, so but Mary is what? If Matt's supposed to be 16, Mary is supposed to be 15, 14?
14.
Right. It's going to see
14.
striptease
Right.
on a date.
Right.
Matt, did you say Matt?
Yeah.
Matt's 16.
Matt's 16.
Right.
Right.
And Mary
And
is
Matt's friend is also 16. Mary is 14.
right.
Okay, yeah. And so
But-
they're
but-
like, we
but
can go
it
see
doesn't-
striptease. And he's like, I already saw it.
Doesn't make
I
sense though
know.
because
Just like-
because Matt is also as a junior, not a sophomore. I'm just saying that the math doesn't quite work out.
All
It's movie
right.
magic, Beth.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
yeah. Anyway.
I mean,
okay.
they're not six. They're clearly not 16,
Clearly.
but sure.
Okay. And
yeah.
then, so after this whole striptease situation, then we skip to
I think I have an answer to why that was used.
why?
It
Why?
was expected to be a huge hit based on the release date is when the scripts were written. So they're like, well, we need a movie. So they put that in, and by the time,
Striptease
It
was
was
the
a
was the
flop.
Demi Moore strip movie.
yeah,
It was the Demi Moore led film.
I think they were overshooting how much they thought teenage high school boys would come out in droves to the theater.
I mean, Were we?
Accurate.
I wonder if we were part of their promotional campaign.
Maybe there were some ad dollars in
Yeah,
there.
I don't know. It seemed like a very odd choice to me.
So in the next scene, we have Lucy is going to have a date with Jimmy Moon, and Eric has intentions on probably or Lucy's concerned about Eric ruining the date because
On ruining the
obviously
date.
he has a reputation for doing
Yes.
so.
He has a history of ruining dates.
Right.
And revels in it.
Like like most would. I mean, I would imagine.
I-
Yeah,
just
I'd
love
say
what-
it's one of those stereotypical dad things that like, haha, I'm gonna
Ruin.
on my daughter's date, I guess.
Well, I mean, I don't think he's eager to have Lucy be dating. So fair.
But allows
Ish.
it so he could,
Yeah,
on
I
it.
mean, I get what you're saying.
you know,
Okay.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just I think it's one of those. It's a stereotypical
Questionable.
dad thing that seems silly.
Well, and I think
It's like when you have a daughter and everyone's like, "You're gonna be in trouble," and I'm like, "Her." It's like, I don't
like
know.
I haven't heard it before.
Yeah, it just says it's one of those things that everyone like brags about, but doesn't seem like brag worthy.
Yeah.
You know, like
Well, we have
Yeah.
and I think also at this point, Lucy thinks that she's got it all under control because Annie's supposed to help her out. But everything changes with Annie having to go to Arizona, and now Dad is back in the mix, which is a no bueno.
that's right. And that Annie going to Arizona flip flops the plan.
Flip flops
Yeah,
everything. I mean,
sure.
Annie going to Arizona is like
is the monkey wrench.
yeah,
of the
because
episode,
also
yeah.
that also means that we're also going to have to eat Dad's food, and Ruthie has clearly spoken about her opinion of said food.
Yeah. Yeah, Ruthie's a foodie from a very young age.
Yeah, I didn't realize
yeah.
that, but it's
And
true.
then, yeah.
I actually
we're
think
just-
that pays off really well, though.
What?
yes, it does.
The dad's bad food joke.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think has a great payoff.
Okay, but what
happens
comes next?
Lucy threatens on telling on Mary.
Oh, yeah, because Lucy does what younger sisters absolutely do is she threatens because she wants Mary to help like keep Dad away from Jimmy
Yes.
Moon and her. And when Mary says no because she's got a date with Jeff, Lucy's going to be the narc and tell everyone that she's going to see an R-rated movie strip.
There's actually some really weird and complicated like politicking between you and Mary in
Always.
this episode.
Yeah.
Like you guys are like frenemies the whole time. Like you're asking each other for support and help on your date schemes, but then you also like backstab each other like multiple
So
times.
true.
By the
It's
way,
really
Isn't
like
that a pretty typical sister?
We are
it's that
girls.
handshake with the
Though?
knife behind the back thing
Yeah.
that is like really intense between you guys early on.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was like that's a
It's
great
the goal.
description.
It's the goal
it's
of
the
it.
great
Yeah.
description of our relationship throughout the entire show.
Sure, I guess. It sets it up
Really well.
clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it clearly sets you guys up to be like that. So but I was struck by how like ruthless it is. Like you guys are like
That is girls, teenage
is-
girls.
it is very funny and
Uh, Yeah.
cute. And disturbing.
After Lucy threatens to like tell on Mary about the date, like you just said, like actually then Mary does the good thing and
Yeah.
breaks off the date with Jeff so that she could be the good sister.
Right. Which kind of backfires on her, right? He gets upset about it.
Oh yeah, he does get upset.
So
Jeff
then-
kind of acts like, by the way, acts kind of like a jerk because she's like trying to like stand up for her sister, and he's like, "Well, you should have told me sooner."
Yeah, he definitely.
He does act
did
like a
show some
jerk,
nice
but it's
colors in
not
that
long
scene.
lived because then he becomes like
Which is so Seventh Heaven.
I guess. Yeah, he just
Well, he wants to go to the party, right?
Yes.
And then,
he wants to go to the party and he's being a jerk about it. But then as the episode progresses, he becomes like really needy and sad
Soft.
boy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Well,
like
and he already saw striptease. with
and,
Mack.
and he already saw
With
Matt.
striptease twice.
With
so
Matt.
he's he's not going to go for a third time. So after that, then we get a little vignette of Eric unpacking groceries. Totally
And
normal
he's-
thing for dad to do. He sticks chips up in a dish cabinet. I don't know. It's kind of strange that where things end up going. But then he realizes something and runs to the car to
He
find
forgot something.
Ruthie sitting in the car knowingly that she was gonna be left in the car.
It's a good thing we haven't established that it's California yet. You know, like.
By the
Red
way,
flags.
my biggest fear is like
That's-
even like you can't even leave a kid like it's.
I watched that episode and I was
horrifying.
like, oh my God, what if that happens to me? If it happened to Eric, it could happen to me. You know, like, gosh.
Oh my gosh, but it's like so scary.
It's-
I don't know, but I love that you're like, Mom never does this.
I know.
Yeah, it's very cute.
But there isn't a bead of sweat on my forehead either, so it must have been winter.
No, they weren't trying to make it like life threatening.
I
It was just supposed to be a cute joke.
It was.
But in all
But
seriousness,
it's-
don't leave kids in the car.
It sent my brain into a
Like-
tailspin after I saw that. That's just.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's just supposed to set up that Eric, as the pastor patriarch of the family,
Hands are full.
is not the one who runs the household, right?
Yeah,
It's
he's
that-
definitely not
I-
the multitasker.
yeah.
I
that
really like Ruthie's outfit in this.
without
episode, too.
Annie, the house
Actually,
falls apart a little bit. That's the gag.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any forgettable moments as parents?
Not yet.
No, I mean
forget
I
everything
have
else as a
one
parent,
kid, so
but-
I can't imagine leaving her in the car like that. Like I only got one kid to worry.
But like,
I don't know how if you had more kids, you'd be more likely to do it either. I don't know. It seems
Well, luckily, the kid I do have to say, and it sounds so silly, but I definitely count.
how many
I'm
times
like,
do you
1,
forget
2, 3.
things
Okay,
in the
we're good.
house though?
But
with
I
a
could
kid?
see-
Like I have to
Forgetting.
exit the house at least 4 times when I'm like taking my kids somewhere. I'm like run, back and forth, back and forth. So
Oh.
it's not the kid. I just forget everything else, basically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's. But it's
Yeah.
also because
That's
like you
true,
have
yeah.
so
That's-
much.
but that's because
stuff.
all your other stuff doesn't follow you around all day. Like my kid follows me around and I couldn't leave her anywhere if I tried, you know?
And while we fill up on coffee, you're gonna fill up on some ads. See ya.
Well, I
Maybe
mean, I
better.
think I'm constantly chasing you around trying to give you your stuff, like your wallet or your ATM card or your hat. Be like, Mac, put this all in
Fair.
the same space.
Yeah, and both of those things were individually misplaced in the week before coming here. I found my ATM card like a couple hours before in a bag of stuff that I had like taken out of the car. The wallet was a separate find. Also,
So here's a we're just gonna go on a tangent. But
Sorry.
you
Okay, well,
Um,
after this tangent, we'll circle back.
I'm doing it.
Okay, go.
You lose stuff all the time. So when you lose stuff, is it just for like, oh, you lose things for a few minutes or whatever? Because I'm the kind of person who never loses my things. I always put my things in the same place.
yeah.
But when I do lose something, it's hopelessly lost for like, it ruins the whole day. I can't find it all day long. Like I never lose something and then like, oh, it's right here. You know what I
No,
mean? Like when I lose something, I'm like,
I lose things like multiple times a day, like phones. Is that count
right.
as a thing?
But it's
Like,
always
I'll use-
quick though, right? Quick recovery.
Yeah, it depends on how I lose it until I need it again, and then I bother to look for it.
All right.
Actually, I just adapt, or I adapt. I'm like, can I use my phone to pay for something? All right, well, I don't need to find my ATM card until I go to a place where I think I maybe can't do that.
But I do have to say, there was one time I was out with Mac and she like paid with cash, and I was like, "Oh, wow, why you pay with cash?" And she's like, "Well, I have to because I don't know where my ATM card is or my credit card, so I always have to have cash so that way." And I was like, "What?" But then you found it.
Life would be a lot
here's what I
easier
do have to
if-
say though, I'm so proud of her is because she's prepared for
Yeah.
like when
For the event
Oh.
that she loses her cards.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's
yeah.
I love that.
Thanks.
Love that. If I lose stuff, I'm screwed.
But
I also don't
I'm
lose
used to like acting on the backup plan and the backup plan, and that's
I
just
live
my,
with someone like this.
my state of
so-
being.
All right. We got off
You
on
know.
a tangent. We are
Sorry.
coming back. We are
Anyway.
back to episode 3.
Do you lose your stuff often?
Okay. We're
Comment
put
down below.
comments down below. So next scene is we actually
25-year-old.
go back to school and we see
We see
Mary's
Matt's
coming to the car and
interest.
he is making out like he's got
Yeah.
hot and heavy with
With
We're
the
having-
blonde
this very interesting.
waitress.
It's one
Who's also in
adult
high school.
teenager making out with another adult teenager. It's very strange to me
She's-
because none of them look like they've seen a high school in a decade. But like,
So true.
I don't know. It's not our show. It's not like a thing. It's not a knock against our show, because all shows back then, like, they would always. I remember as an actor being frustrated when I was doing more teenage stuff and trying to get other stuff, knowing that those jobs were going to people in their 20s and sometimes as old as 30, playing the part that was my age.
Yeah.
I
And
had that same
then
thing.
when I was in my 20s going, haha, now I'm going to get all of those high school, like, sexy, cool roles and stuff. And then they were like, the industry decided then and there that they were going to cast age appropriate from now on.
I had the same
Literally.
thing. I mean, like, but I also feel like the fact that, you know, actual high school kids watching what's supposed to look like high school kids on TV that actually look older really sort of just encouraged real high school kids to try to look older than they were, because they wanted to look like the high school kids on TV who were actually, you know, in their 20s. So it's sort of like kind of, I think, pushed a generation of kids to both dress and act and look older than they actually were, because, you know, a lot of times you're modeling things after people that you see on TV.
Very good point.
And I would try to go out for roles that were my age, and they'd always like, no, you look too young. You look too young.
You're too young, yeah.
Oh, I
You
know.
know, and it was also beyond that, because I didn't actually really look 16 quite when I was, the being short didn't help, but
No, I guess but it's
But
also
it's
typical
like-
for actors to look a few years younger than they are.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's part of the
but if you're
industry's kind of youth bias. I
you're, you
guess,
know, like,
but-
say you're a 16-year-old and you're watching and you think that, like, you know, Matt and Matt's girlfriend are 16, you're like, man, what's wrong with me? Like, I don't, you know.
By the way, can we
I had
just
to put
talk
more
about
makeup on.
like her makeout session and her like
So-
blowing the kiss? And I love there's a
It's
point
very,
where
like, Betty Boop.
Jesse like totally like pushes her head back to get out of the way of the like imaginary kiss that is going across the car.
Who Framed
was
Roger
very-
Rabbit?
yeah, it was
like,
very
next, we're
funny.
gonna come and
Yeah.
slap her in the face. There's an old one.
God.
That's a good movie.
Oh my god, yeah.
So then we come back into where Ruthie has set all of her dolls up in her new room that she shares with Simon,
Yeah.
and she's stoked about. And then they have a conversation, I think, about who gets the top bunk, and we know
That's
Simon
right.
wants it, and Ruthie can't sleep up there because why? Yeah, it's something to do with Hui, right? And they have this cute little tea party.
Who he can't
too.
get up there or something like that.
Well, Hui has to deliver luggage at the airport sometimes. He has to unload it. Because
He has a day job. Yeah,
He
he's
has
a day job.
Yeah, a couple
I'm
jobs.
proud
I
of
think.
Hui for having a job.
Hui was on for many years.
So
he
he
really
was.
should have gotten like
Hui was like our
credits.
My brain goes in so many weird directions to joke about that.
That's a really cute scene, though.
It is cute.
It's
It's
so
it-
cute.
it's at
And,
the end of the day, it's just
know-
you being like super cute
Mhm.
and moving in your army of stuffies and
Simon
having
was,
all of
like-
your reasons why your imaginary friend can and can't do things. And it's adorable. And Simon's just annoyed by it.
But he's actually a good little brother for even sitting down to have a tea party with her and putting up with it in the first place, too.
I know, you guys had
Although
such a
he
cute-
does sort of want something from her.
Yeah,
Well,
So-
Simon
no, but-
always
but-
had like something.
but it was cute.
But our
He doesn't
brotherly,
just go-
sisterly dynamic, with the exception of these two murderous sisters, was all pretty
Wait, these two,
pretty sweet
like,
and-
there's
and,
only
like,
one
solid.
Of us here.
It was we were nicer to each other
You guys were way
than
nicer than
my brother and I were. Yeah, in real.
So then Matt comes in
Oh.
to talk to
Simon.
Ruthie and
Okay.
Simon, and
Wait, he gives you some advice.
and
He
he
tells
gives-
you how to manipulate
he
me.
gives me advice. And says that, like, do you remember my rule of time?
right
Or something along those lines, which
you're
is
5.
about like your age determines up to what time in the day you have to take the responsibility of whatever's going on with the brothers and sisters,
so it was
the
like
chores.
so, and that's when that we
So
established.
then I'm
that
like,
you're five.
haha.
Yes. But
Yeah.
and I was just questioning that because the episode prior to that, I'm learning my ABCs still.
Right.
Well, yeah, 'cause you're-
I was like-
So you're easily manipulated. Is that
Because you're
Yeah.
you're 5 and you have to do everything that Simon says
Until 5 o'clock.
But then, fortunately, you know, Mary, later on, Mary's like, you know, tell him to.
it's a cute little brotherly sisterly gag that
But
I'm
it's-
glad they didn't try to
It's
drag
cute.
out too long
It
because
was
it
cute.
backfires pretty quickly.
But it
yeah,
was cute 'cause
lasts
you-
like Simon tries it once.
It's a
and
few
he just-
scenes and then it goes, yeah.
But it is cute
gets
though because
away.
you're like, okay.
yeah,
And then
Yeah,
you just
which
run
is
off.
cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it really worked.
Yeah, it was a
Well,
very sweet scene.
Well, it
for a
sells
second.
because you. It sells
It's
because of
because
you.
you're- yeah,
because
'cause
you're
you're
so
so
cute,
cute,
and you just go okay, and it in that moment, I get my victory, and
he calls you grasshopper.
yes, and then we have a weird like Asian sound effect over our bows. I don't know. I don't know if that's cool anymore. I mean, clearly it's not cool anymore.
We don't know what ethnicity the music supervisor was. His lips spark passion, right? Lucy wants to.
Oh yes, this is when Lucy and Mary have a moment, and Lucy reveals that her hopes and dreams of her date with Jimmy Moon will end in a kiss because his lips, my lips, passion sparks. Like, oh, it's
Yeah.
just she's very dramatic.
I don't know why
Lucy was
Lucy didn't
very-
become like
A
a
romance
romance
novel
novelist.
writer.
You
Yeah.
know? Yeah,
Like-
she never should have been a reverend
She basically
or a minister.
W-
Or I guess I
was a
couldn't be
romance
reverend. She
She's
would've been a
novelist.
mis-
pretty
minister.
saucy for
As a
for
character.
minister.
She is hormonal, that child.
There was a big
Um,
pause between those
that was
two.
that was an aggressive
The-
separation of syllables.
It was.
What? Wait, what did I say something?
Yeah. No,
Oh, I didn't even
never
realize
mind.
that I said it.
You saw it.
Oh, I said oh, I don't even know. Oh, just circling back and yeah, insert foot in mouth, one for Bev.
And he shows up at Granny and Grandpa's.
Oh,
And no one's
Yeah,
there.
and walks right in. Can we talk about
She-
that? So
well, I
then
mean, obviously
the
she has a
next thing
key.
that
She
happens,
expects them to just
obviously,
be there, like waiting for her. And
do you have keys to your parents' place?
I can get in.
that's not the same as
the
having
answer to the
keys.
question.
I can
Bev
get
can
in.
fit through any size doggy
I'm just
door.
saying,
I can.
like
I've tried. I can. I
Then
can totally get in. Doggy
Annie shows
doors.
up to her parents' place
I mean,
in
it's a little
another
bit bigger
state,
than it
knocks
was.
on the front door, and then just walks right in and like hangs out and uses the phone and is just sitting in the room. And then they walk into their own house that they presumably left empty, and someone's in there and they're not surprised.
It's Annie.
I don't know. It seems to me strange. You know,
Yeah.
like somebody, if I came home
And
and I walked upstairs and my brother was sitting on my couch, I'd be a little like, hey, dude, what, why and how did you get into my house? And why didn't you call me?
Well, it was the 90s and it was fine. And they come in and they start talking
Nobody
about
locked their door in the 90s.
they talked
people-
about having all these kind of wild adventures because it's clearly
like
it's at the end of grandma's life
Also
and
the-
she's doing anything
Yes.
and everything
That
and they
part
talk
of the
about
scene
a
is
hot,
great.
hot air balloon. They're gonna fly first class and come back. They want to go
That's
to a
right.
water park.
Yes.
two
they're-
water
they're-
parks
They're
near,
living it
near
up.
where so we can narrow down where the Camdens live because near two
Either
water parks.
Raging Waters or
Well, the water
There's only
park
one water
at
park
Magic wasn't around
Soak-
back then.
There's Soak City.
Yes, it was.
No, I remember when they built it.
Hurricane Harbor.
Yeah, I remember when
Hurricane
they
Harbor
built it.
wasn't in
Hurricane
like,
Harbor wasn't around then.
Not then.
That was
no.
built in
It
the
was Raging
2000s or
Waters.
something.
Well,
It was Raging Waters.
fictitiously, we can narrow it. So where were there two water parks in California?
Well, you know
Oh.
what? This is make believe, so there could have
We
been
need to get
another
one of those
but, you know.
GeoGuessr guys.
Okay. All right.
The
So,
other thing
like,
is too, though,
figure
like
out-
maybe Annie just walks in because, like, in the '90s and even in the early 2000s, you didn't like text someone 10 million times to say I'll be on. Like I call it, you know, I'm almost there. I'm 10 minutes away. I'm coming. I'm still coming.
I'm
Like,
at
are you
the
still-
door.
We didn't
I'm
do
at
that.
I'm in the door.
We
You
didn't
know,
do that.
like it's like, yeah, I'll see you on Thursday at 2, and like a week
Speaking
goes
of
by
see
and
you
you
at
show up
Tuesday
at
at
Thursday
2,
at 2.
let's take a
All
break.
right, sorry.
Okay, so I do have to say that one scene though with Grandma when with Annie, she does say that very poignant line saying, "I'll be resting soon enough, honey," and that was one that like definitely like hit me because you know she's very clear that like the end is coming.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's morbid and sweet somehow.
Yeah, in some way.
Yeah.
But then we skip to Eric's fabulous dinner, which is a casserole, which he learned
So-
in.
I remember like seeing that on the plate when we were filming that, and they mixed like ketchup in it, and it was absolutely most of the it was revolting.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, they made it look gross as best they could. But
They did a
also,
great job.
what I loved about the scene though is Eric having a great time making it,
And then knowing
also,
that he's ordering pizza.
and then also having a great time eating it, watching all of us suffer because he's just chowing
like,
down.
pizza will be here in
And
20.
and as he ducks out of the room, we all try desperately to get it off of our plate. Somebody dumps it back into the casserole.
That was me.
Simon immediately
me.
goes for Happy to eat
Poor-
it.
which
Happy
is-
runs,
Yeah.
which is cute. And then Eric pops back in and says, "Oh, don't fill up. The pizza's coming," or
Right.
something like that, which I think is actually a
It's so
great payoff because he's enjoying himself so much because he's torturing us with his bad food and
Yeah.
he knows it.
And
So-
he's in on the joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
which is cute and I thought worked as a little gag.
And then we go to Grandma and Grandpa at the airport with Annie that are coming back and them living it up and spending all the money and having the filet mignon and
Yeah.
like, living life
It's
up.
a ski trip.
Right.
Spending kids' inheritance.
Hey. And and then we move on to Lucy getting ready for Jimmy Moon. And of course she does the absolute 90s thing, which is the like, what was it, Bananka?
The
Remember that? Like the
Bananka.
breath spray.
Banaka was big back then.
That was like
What
such
happened?
a strange moment because she's getting ready for Jimmy Moon, and we open the door, and who's there but Jimmy Moon?
With
Because
his
you could
French
never just.
film.
By the way, you could never just call him Jimmy. It was always Jimmy Moon.
Jimmy Moon.
Yeah, he
Right.
had that
He was
iconic
always
name.
just Jimmy Moon. And as they enter, she sees Mary walk by and starts doing the total Lucy thing, which is clearing her throat to get Mary's attention,
about-
who
Yes.
clearly does not
You
pay
guys are
any attention to her, and gives her a wave and a nod and just
Yeah,
continues on.
you guys are real
What
subtle.
about like Jimmy? What about Jimmy Moon and his like what 13-year-old self? And he's like, I picked up this great French film for us to watch.
Right.
You know,
See, I thought that I was
You're
like, bet Jimmy Moon. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Well, and also having him because he goes, oh, Eric says I'll get some popcorn. I'll come watch it with you, and he goes, oh, no need for that.
No,
I have a copy.
I brought you a copy
and
from
it's a
like
VHS.
it's a VHS that looks like it's from Hollywood Video. Maybe.
I mean, I thought it was that was
Yeah.
pretty good. And then you also have, while this date is going on, you've got Mary spying on Lucy.
And Mary's
Yeah, and
helping
kinda
Eric
jealous.
sabotage
Yeah, she's
it.
Is
too.
it jealous?
I
She's
don't-
like, here, Dad.
Yeah, she's
Want to play a song?
Yeah, she's
That's
definitely.
what bugged me out when I was watching. I was like, "Oh my god, the knives are coming out! It's so brutal!" Like,
Yeah.
she goes up there to get Dad to make him ruin the date.
Yeah, she brings the guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, she busts out the guitar. She's like, "Don't just ruin the date. Ruin it like this."
Yeah, like
Yeah.
well,
And they're
because
trying
that's
to
how
find the
her,
right song.
that's
right?
how her date was, and then she takes part in
And-
it. So it's not only that
And
she
they like
gets him
hoe
to
down together.
Yes.
By the way, I didn't realize. I mean, we had covered early in the podcast how terrified I was when we did the musical episode.
There's
and
a
how I
lot of
didn't want to
music.
sing, but I didn't remember how often we seemed to sing in the show.
I mean,
Like,
we're only on episode 3.
I know, and there's like 4 numbers. It's like 4 times in 3 episodes we sing. It's
Well,
ridiculous.
I sing a lot on the show, and we haven't even gotten there.
I don't know. I blocked a lot of that out. I was definitely
That's
not.
why, by the way,
singer as
that
a
led to
child.
my moment in life when I thought I was a singer. I think it's because of all of this. I sang on the show and I thought I was good. It was a misconception.
I had no such misconception about myself.
Okay. Yes. And then we move on to, again, there's a lot of making out. Matt's makeout session with the bad news. She was bad news.
We should have a
bears.
makeout counter
Oh, we should.
for our rewatch.
Thank God we don't.
Ugh,
Yeah.
creepy.
So the bad news girl, because she pulls out a beer.
Yeah.
And then,
She's like, hey, you want one?
Somehow the car gets put in reverse and the Meals
And
on
he's
Wheels
I'm
truck
an underage designated driver.
rolls into a cop car.
Yes, and she takes her beer and goes, ah!
And she spills
it
it
all over
all
him.
over
Yeah,
Matt.
it's good
And guess what? Dun dun dun. Matt is in trouble.
because he hits a cop.
He's done for.
He's
They
done
tried to
for.
make it
Done.
look like the worst ever coincidence you've ever seen. Like he accidentally hits someone who is a cop, and in that moment,
Right after the beer's
she
open, too.
accidentally
So it's a full
spills her beer.
Yeah.
And it's full because she just opened it.
Yeah,
Right.
because she just, they didn't
The
drink
second
any
he
of
put the
it.
car
Yeah.
in drive,
God.
he opened a beer.
But then we come back to when Eric and Mary are trying to find the perfect song in which to ruin Lucy's date, which
Yeah.
Takes them a couple tries.
They're
They do,
shopping some
yeah.
tunes, and then he comes
Got
up
it.
on the perfect little hoedown
Right.
number for them to
and
sing
then
together.
as Lucy does, Lucy completely narcs and tells Eric that
But the
Mary
jig is up.
wanted
Mary is singing the hoedown
I know.
with him to ruin your date.
I know.
mean,
So
it's,
then Lucy tells on her and says that Mary wanted to watch striptease, which she didn't do but wanted to. But she still gets in trouble because of wanting to.
Apparently, that's wrong.
Then we go to Matt.
It is wrong.
We go back to Matt, who's in trouble. The cop is named Bob.
Well, Matt sort of got Mary out of whatever imaginary trouble she was in for wanting to see a movie, right? I mean, like nothing that anyone else in that show on that episode could have done would compare to Matt, running
Matt
into a
always got
cop
into
covered
big
in
trouble.
beer
Yeah.
yeah.
with a 25-year-old
Yeah.
in the
And then
passenger seat.
and then we go
Right.
to Lucy and Mary having their fight.
An underage 25-year-old.
Right.
And the knives are out between Lucy and Mary because they are mad. Game, set, and match. I don't know who won that one.
I don't know. I feel like you guys knifed each other so much in this episode that nobody won.
That could be true.
All right, we'd call it a
Yeah.
draw.
Yeah. It was a bloody draw.
But then everything, Grandma and Grandpa and Annie come back, and they come back with a load of gifts
Yes.
Right. Lots of gifts.
and a special gift for Simon.
They are do I get more moon rocks?
You do. You get more moon rocks. There's a lot of moon rocks.
There's a lot of moon rocks.
You really liked moon rocks.
I did. I think, and you know what? As a kid, I loved like all things space. And so, that to me is just a relatable kid thing for my age group, I guess.
Yeah.
In the bedroom that you had, I noticed like that they had all of the planetary system pinned on the door. So that tracks.
Yeah,
That's cool.
just
I mean, and as a kid, like science was always my favorite subject. And so like having Simon, have all his like space paraphernalia and stuff like that was all super relatable for me.
I also love that in the next scene when Annie's back and like basically everyone's coming to Annie telling her like all the trouble that's been going on, and the first thing she says is like, does everyone just fight when I'm gone? And as a mom, I also can completely relate to that, where like all
Yeah.
hell breaks loose when I'm out of town. Like all of a sudden it's like they're just like a band of like wild animals that
Right.
all
Do we need to call
order
Michael? Is he okay?
all order as he's a good manager of wild animals.
Oh, that's good. So he's a
But
zookeeper.
he
Yeah.
is a zookeeper. Yes, yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely some zookeeping happening right now.
It is
while we're
true.
here.
The family facade is held together by string.
Yeah.
And as soon as the enabler leaves, everything falls apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Meanwhile, I left Grant with a literal zoo.
Yeah, well,
so,
that's you have one.
The
Good luck,
he's,
buddy.
he's running the only farms.
and then
Yes.
and then we go back to
Poor guy.
I know.
Matt.
He's got to
who's-
take his shoes off to
we go back to Matt, who's in
go
trouble.
horseback riding.
Circling back, focus, people, focus.
Right. That's not a strong suit of mine.
And on that note, we'll be right back.
And then we go back to Matt is in trouble, and the dad of the bad news girl calls out Eric, saying, "I should have known because you're a minister's son."
Yeah, but it's a minister's daughter who's the bad one usually, right? Isn't that the cliche?
I
The-
think
the-
actually
the
it
preacher's
is.
daughter.
Yeah, I think
Like
it
preacher's
a
is.
la
daughter.
Footloose.
Yeah, but then
and,
Eric gets mad. That's
Yeah.
when Eric kind of loses it a little bit. Is this the first time we see Eric lose it?
I believe so.
No, in the last episode, he yelled at Matt for staying out all night. Remember?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I think this
Yeah.
is going to be a repeated theme.
So
Yeah.
Eric has
Yeah.
anger management issues.
Yeah.
And who's he going to talk to though?
Well,
Because
he
he's
does
the man
that-
to talk to.
He
Is
does
No,
that
it's
90s
Annie.
dad thing where he
Oh,
yells.
Yeah.
He yells because he cares.
And then and then we have the sweetest scene with Alice, who played our grandma, who comes in and basically says how hard it must be for Matt because Matt doesn't have anyone, and how lucky Lucy and Mary are because they have each other. And it's a very sweet scene where all of a sudden the sisters kind of realize, like, we shouldn't be mean to each other. We should remove all knives from each other's backs, and we should be.
It's a highlight scene.
It's a very sweet
Yeah.
scene. And there is
It's a
a
highlight.
very funny, while we're walking down the hallway, there's a comment that Lucy says the whole family is weird. And I actually had a little chuckle about that. And I'm like, yes, because we are. But every family is weird.
Every family is
Every
weird.
family is
Yeah.
weird. So that was very sweet. And then you guys have a really sweet brother-sister moment in the bedroom when you guys are saying goodnight.
Well, we say we love each other.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And then you say we don't have to do this every night.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It is a very. It is a very
cute.
cute scene.
But it's a very sweet and
But it's like
I
our
love
first
you too,
night
but we
sleeping
don't-
in the
No,
same
yeah,
room with
it's-
each
it's-
other. It's so cute.
Yeah,
It plays great, and
Yeah.
it comes across as genuine and sweet, and we have that great little sibling dynamic. So
It's that moment in time before we're too busy with our own dating lives before.
I guess
You're
yeah.
like,
But tracking back to Grandma's scene with you, that to me is a highlight scene, and I'd probably vote Grandma as MVP in the
100
episode.
Yeah. I
Like-
love that you do this MVP. I love this.
Grandma's great, but I think everyone should get their flowers for doing the most in an
Yeah.
episode. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like and in this episode, it's
Balance.
about Grandma's, facing mortality, and it's something that can be like is obviously dark and scary and difficult to deal with in any sort of positive way, but she does it very gracefully and with a smile the whole time, and it's so sweet and well done. So my MVP for the episode.
I love that. And then we have a total 90s/80s, because I feel like this was big also in all 80s movies. Throwing rocks at windows.
Throwing rocks to the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a classic one even for back then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Jeff
Playing
is,
on an old trope.
Jeff
Yeah.
is throwing rocks at Mary's window. But
And
Eric answers.
Well, I was going to say, we respond to the trope in a funny way,
Yeah.
because not only does he get Mary's attention, but he gets the dad's attention too. Like
Because-
you're banging rocks against the side of the house, and everyone in the house can hear you.
Yeah. And
So-
but Eric, and that's when Eric says, "Tell Lucy that Jimmy Moon will give her a call."
Yeah.
And then gives
He redeems himself a
and
bit.
then
Yeah.
gives Mary and Jeff a moment.
and
they
and he,
have
he
on
lets
the-
them have their moment on the porch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is sweet. Also, is it weird that on the exterior of the house, she opens? By the way, this was when the exterior of our house was a location, and the interior was obviously a set. And so the exterior of the house, she opens the window backwards. Like she opens the top of the window.
You can do
You
that.
can do that.
Yes, you
We
can
do that at our house.
And then on the inside of the house, on our set, it doesn't look like the windows
Oh
open
no,
like
yeah.
that.
On the inside of the set, they open
Well,
from.
Like from the bottom, like
okay,
a
why would
regular window.
I mean that you are correct. That is.
I don't know.
actually correct.
It was something I noticed, and I was like, do windows do that? I don't know.
They do.
They do, but
All
yes,
right.
we were not consistent. That is correct.
I thought it was weird.
And then we have where Jeff actually like apologized for being a jerk and like recognizing that, he wasn't very nice to Mary on the front porch. And then Mary actually admitting that the reason why she used Lucy as an excuse when the reality was she never was going to be allowed to go to the party.
Right.
Right.
Right. And that you were a scapegoat.
Of course.
All of
So
the
she
knifing
admitted-
that happened
yeah.
was for naught. It didn't matter at all.
Yes. And then we have the very, very sweet moment with Grandma and Grandpa where they kind of are having their dance and their sweet, like, kind of beats that are. And I loved them.
Yeah.
Graham and Alice were just like such beautiful lights, like just
They were very
such
kind.
lovely,
wonderful.
like wonderful.
They're absolutely
wonderful.
wonderful in these first few episodes.
And just I just remember them just being so fun to be around. They definitely gave you that grandpa energy, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
those
100%.
hugs and like they're just being around them on set, and and then Grandma and Matt finally have a moment, because up until this, Matt's been dealing with knowing that Grandma's sick, but never really had that moment with her.
Yeah. And again, incredible work. All of these moments with Grandma in her goodbyes with each of us, and her imparting, her giving us each a lesson to hold on to before she passes, is like so sweet and well done, and such quality, like really a great example of the quality family television we were capable of when we were on point
Right.
back then.
Yeah.
But her scene with me in the bedroom, her scene with you, her scene with Matt, all of those scenes are just the highlight for me.
Right.
acting wise, performance wise.
And then Matt and Eric have their kind of their hug and have like
They make up.
They make up, and then which I didn't even remember this moment when Grandma comes in to give Annie a kiss. I even had to like kind of rewatch it and be like, wait, is this her, like, this is the ghost moment, the like kiss goodbye, where it's when Grandma says I have to go now, and that's when she passes.
And then she comes out and they're in the hallway and Grandpa says that she's gone.
I feel like it's one of the only times in the history of the show where we really leaned into a supernatural moment. And I think it's done. Again, it kind of capstones this amazing performance that we get from our grandma in this episode. That it's done quickly and sweetly, and I loved it. I really did. I thought I had forgotten about it, honestly, and before I'd rewatched it, and I went, oh wow, I forgot that we had done something like that. Like, it seemed like we really leaned into the kind of religious part of our show, like, really hard in that moment, and I think it paid off. I think it was great. It was a great moment.
Very sweet moment, and I think also that hallway scene when Annie runs out and
she's
the realization
gone.
that she's gone, and Graham comes out and gives her a hug.
So that reinforces that feeling she had was genuine, and she got her goodbye.
Yeah. And those instincts.
It does happen that way sometimes, though.
Sure,
like when someone dies, or like you don't know why, but
you have that knowing.
You have that.
All of a sudden.
It's that connection. I think it's that, like, it's having that.
Not
like,
all the time, but occasionally it does happen.
No, but that
like,
intangible connection to that person.
Yeah.
You feel it suddenly, and you find out that's the moment that they passed or left.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really sweet, and it's sweet because I feel like there was so much opportunity for it to be heavy-handed but I think they did it really gracefully.
It was
it was
nice,
beautiful. It was simple. It was clean.
Yeah, exactly.
It was heartfelt, and it was meaningful. And I think this is part of like what was part of our success, is the ability to have these heavy moments that people could.
It was a great way to just deftly navigate difficult things.
Okay, so the 90s fashion award goes to either Eric and his beeper belt, which that's going to be every episode.
Yeah.
Or Jimmy Moon and his rugby shirt.
For me, it's the beeper belt, just because I have memories of beepers from the 90s. Like, I remember the beeper era.
His beeper belt.
But I don't have.
And
being
we
a
had
kid,
Steven's beeper and Eric's beeper. Remember? They just switch it out.
Yeah.
And they would switch the beeper, and
beepers are just like so 90s. I had a beeper.
Yeah.
I remember beeper code, like pager code.
I never had a beeper.
143, guys. I love you.
I never had a beeper,
My
but
mom had one.
I started off with
your
the cell phone early in the cell phone era.
When did you get a cell phone? Do you remember?
I'm assuming my first cell phone was those early Nokias, because everyone had those. Those were the cell phones that you got as a kid back then. And I know at some point, like when Nokia's jumped the shark, I had like my Nokia was fully modded with I had the light up battery pack and the custom antenna piece and the
replacement phase.
Yeah, you exactly.
Yeah.
You swapped out all the parts
Those
for it
things were
at the mall.
I mean,
So are we giving the award to
Eric?
To me, it's the beeper, because I don't have particular memories of the rugby thing. Like, that wasn't on my radar as a kid, but it's on you guys.
And the winner is Eric with the beeper belt. All right. Okay, so if you guys loved what you're hearing, please be sure to subscribe, follow, push all the buttons, say all the likes and the thumbs and all those things.
Wherever you're watching or listening, there's something you could do for us. And
subscribe and do all of that, and catch us next time on Catching Up with the Camdens for another episode.